Hey, Ram fans, welcome back to another edition. I know I lied to you last time. I said it was going to be our last update last Wednesday. However, Colorado State wraps up their season. We're going to put a little bow on this one because so much interesting things happened in a very trying season. Hi, everybody. Matthew Wozniak. We brought in the heavy hitter today, Ramwire insider Mike Brohart. He wants to come in and really delve into some of the issues that, of course, I glossed over through the entire season. And Tom Hilbert joins us as well. Okay, Coach, obviously a 4-match win streak. You end up 9-6 on the season. Didn't quite end how you wanted on the road at San Diego State, but still those last couple of weeks really showed a lot of improvement on your team. What did you see in just that tiny little brief period that propelled you to that 4-1 finish down the stretch?
Well, a lot of it was us understanding what actually helps you win a game and what makes you lose a game. You know what I mean? The players got more consistent with regards to, making the other team earn points, not giving them points. And that was big. And I think that, we got into trouble this last season when we were defended and got extended into longer rallies. That was where we really struggled early in the season. And I think we got better at that, at finishing those rallies off as we got later into the season.
Maybe one of the biggest things on that loss at San Diego State just this past time out was one of the things that you had been doing well was adjusting to the defensive pressure you were seeing. It didn't seem like many of those adjustments were working and the frustration really started setting in, did it?
Yeah, it did. That was a very difficult match. And I'm telling you, that San Diego State team that we played didn't look anything like the ones we saw on film. And if you look at what they had done all season, they were up and down, you know what I mean? And they had some game matches where they lost to a certain team and you're like, how does that happen? They were on point that entire match. Their serve receive was better than anyone we had played yet in the Mountain West, better than Vegas's. And every one of their attackers, they put number 21 in on the right side. We had not seen that before, and she was just like all world, So it was almost like I'm looking down at the other bench going, what the heck are you guys pulling on me right here? But they were really, really good. That was a thorough match by them in every single way. And so sometimes you just run into a buzzsaw. You know what I mean? And especially if you're young the way we are, I can see the frustration in my team's eyes. I'd love for them to be able to have the resilience to work through that. We didn't do it Saturday, but I did tell the team at the end, I said, we have to win this kind of a match in order to do what we need to do as a conference champion next fall. And I think they all agreed that we have the ability to do it. We're just going to have to go back to work.
Hey, Tom, I thought it was interesting when you look at the way the schedule was set up, it was, 2-game sets. With the exception of San Diego State and UNLV, you won the first night, and then the second night, it was somewhat of a different story. What did that tell you about your young and developing team, and what does that lead you into in off-season workouts?
Well, it's a good question, Mike, because I'm not sure if that is a factor of the team or me as the coach, because we thought we were making adjustments even when we won the first match. But the other teams always came back out and played better against us, and they played better against our big players. You know what I mean? For example, Jackie Van Liefde against Wyoming was great on night one, and then they changed some blocking on her, and we weren't able to work through that. I also think, when we were winning those matches usually in 3 sets. I think Air Force we went 4 with, but you need to be able to win in extended matches when you're going 4 or 5 sets, and that was not something we were easily able to do. So, I feel like we are good enough. Obviously, we beat them the first night, but those teams did a better job of readjusting and prepping and believing they could beat us on the second night. And we have to be so what happened was it creates more of a competitive environment, and we have to be able to respond to that. We didn't, and we need to learn to do that before next year.
Tom, all of you had to put on your hip high waders this year because there was a lot to walk through in terms of just COVID testing, navigating those waters, who's going to be available, who's not. How did your team handle that, and how hard was that for you as a coach and a coaching staff?
Well, I thought my team handled it very well. And I think, we had a mini outbreak at the end of our fall segment. And I think that it taught those players a lesson. And I think we came into this spring, they all behaved themselves pretty well. They stayed isolated just within our bubble. And we were testing 3 times a week. And we had to go through, in travel, we had to travel in certain ways and follow certain guidelines. And, I think our team did a pretty good job. We did lose a couple of players at the end of the season to contact tracing. They didn't have it, but, some of those things, I mean, just the fact that that only happened to us with 2 players in 2 separate weeks, I feel like was a pretty good record.
One of the things that we've noticed about the team is, we, in these volleyball updates, we always focus on the match at hand, the match just ahead of you. I'm curious, obviously, we've seen the players who get the most reps out there on the court be able to progress. I'm curious, and one of the hallmarks and strengths of your program over the years has been your ability to develop that second level, the bomb squad, in other words. What have you seen behind the scenes in practice from some of those other players that will be integral to competing for starting positions and will press the entire team to an improvement next season?
Well, I think you saw a lot of, number one, we have a really good backup setter, and she does a nice job. And I think when we were in that 6-2 for that, 2-match spread, I was very actually intrigued by it, thinking that may be something we could do in the future. That's one thing. Secondly, Naima Weathers is very good, and she's very physically talented, and she's competitive, and she works extremely hard. You're going to see her. We saw her a little bit against New Mexico. You're going to see her more next year because I really believe she's a very talented kid who needs to be on the court for us.
Mike, final question?
Yeah, I was going to just kind of jump on that a little bit. We did see a lot of development. I mean, there's got to be some highlights that you look forward to. Jackie had a nice end to her season. Kennedy really came on for you. Karina got to learn and grow what it's like to be a CSU middle. How valuable are those things as you move into next year where hopefully you have a regular season and a non-conference schedule to work out some of these kinks?
Well, it's really valuable. And you did. I mean, we needed to play matches. And I think there's no substitute for playing people. You can't create it in practice. You can think you're ready in practice, but until you play people, there's so many unanswered questions. And now we got a lot of those questions answered. And I think you're going to see, next fall, Kennedy Stanford will be a much, much more effective player because of what the role she was put in for the second half of the season. So that's just one example. And, Jackie can play both left and right. We've got, setters that are getting better. And Sierra Zimmerman's ability to attack the second ball got better as the season progressed. So there are a lot of things that we did improve upon, and we're still moving toward that. And I think the players really they know now when we say, hey, you need to be better at this particular skill in this situation, they believe us. You know what I mean? It's not like they're just going through the motions.
Well, an opportunity, Colorado State, in the fall to get back to that winning ways and those championship levels. And I personally, just from having watched the matches, and I think I speak for a lot of Ram fans, just the growth and the improvement on the team just gives me so much excitement for what is coming down in this fall once we start getting back and fans hopefully start getting back into Moby Arena, bring back that Moby madness. I think the sky is the limit with this squad, and I think we just saw tiny little glimmers of what they can be. Agree with that assessment?
I would agree 100%. And I think, this is the biggest, change in starters. We graduated more starters this year than any other year we've ever played. But yet we still were 1 win away from being second place in the conference, 1 win away from beating every single team except for UNLV. So it just shows you that we do have potential, and it's all about now getting out and working on and developing that potential.
Yes, indeed. Coach, appreciate your time throughout this entire season. Thanks for all the hard work, and thanks for joining us here today on the Volleyball Update.
You bet.
Mike, thanks to you too for all your work. Appreciate the write-ups, and thanks for joining us here today as well.
Thanks, guys. Look forward to next year.
That's Tom Hilbert and Mike Brohard. My name is Matthew Wozniak. Have a great summer, folks. Keep in tune to everything that's happening at ccrams.com. Obviously, a lot of sports still going on, as well as big news will happen throughout the summer. So you want to make sure that you stay on top of all of that. So for everybody here on the broadcast, and I want to say thank you again to Tom and Mike. See you next season.